In post-World War II America, women turned their attention to other issues. Issues that went far beyond their own family or community. But their concerns were, in fact, rooted in both. In 1955, a tired working woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man in Montgomery, Alabama. This singular act helped launch the civil rights movement. 2,000 miles to the west in California, farm workers were also demanding justice.
It was really a movement, and you know, everything depended on whether we did something or didn't do it. So that I think is what drove me.
At the center of their struggle was Dolores Huerta, a teacher and mother of 6.
When I left my teaching job to go start organizing farm workers, a lot of people thought I had just, you know, gone completely bananas.
Dolores Huerta was pregnant with her 7th child when Cesar Chavez called her to help him organize the Farm Workers Union.
When we had the first strike in 1965, then I became a picket captain, and I had a whole town that I was responsible for, and we would go out at 3 o'clock in the morning and take everybody out to the picket line. But then the growers got injunctions on us, and then we all started getting arrested, and I was one of the first people to go to jail. When we saw that we couldn't win by striking anymore, then we had to go out on the boycott. Having the women and the children on the picket line made it a lot easier to maintain the nonviolent stance. The men always said, bring the women, because the women would give them more ánimo, would give them more encouragement, you know. Because the picket line, after you're out there for 8 or 9 hours, it can get very, very tiring, even for the men. And out there was a big boost. And I think that's what made the farm workers movement very strong, is because it's a family movement. You know, it includes everybody. The reason that I did all of this work, knowing that I had all of these children, I had 7 children at the time, and later on I had 4 more, so I ended up with 11 children. But I knew that a lot of people were depending on me. And I always used to say, you know, in my prayers, if I'm not doing the right thing, I want a sign, you know, that I'm not doing the right thing, that I should stop what I'm doing and pay more attention to my children.
As first vice president and principal negotiator, Huerta's leadership was crucial to the success of the Farm Workers Union. Huerta's presence at the negotiating table forced men to confront the reality of what it means to be a working mother.
When I had my younger children and you know, I was still negotiating, I would take nursing breaks. So I would take my baby to the negotiations, and then, you know, I would take a nursing break, and everybody would have to wait while the baby ate, and then we'd come back to the table and start negotiating again. And so that was kind of fun. It also, I think, made the employer sensitive to the fact that when we were talking about benefits in the terms of a contract, we're talking about families and we're talking about children.
Wages were increased, housing conditions improved, and fewer children worked in the fields. Dolores Huerta had challenged many stereotypes with her important role and effective leadership. Latino women and men had a new kind of definition of wife and mother.
I am very grateful that I was able to be given this chance during my lifetime to help people through organizing. As far as my children are concerned, they've turned out well. They know how to fight for people. They know how to fight for themselves. My oldest son's a doctor, but he works in a low-income area with farm workers. I have a son who's an attorney. Several of my daughters are in the health field, and they work with low-income people. So my whole ideal has been for my children, for them to be in a position where they can also serve others. And that is my reward.
Men tend to be far more analytical, far more logical and sequential in their thinking.
A lot of the boys refuse to recognize a girl as intelligent. If they realize that you're intelligent, they'll stay away from you.
I almost feel compelled to make good grades because I don't want anyone to think that I came here to get married or because I'm a dumb blonde.
More women than ever before were going to college, and most wanted more than just an MRS degree.
They're beginning to accept the fact that, you know, girls are individuals and have personalities, and they were not just extracurricular activities.
I've been going for job interviews, and people keep telling me that I'm going to be at a great disadvantage because I'm a girl. And I just keep telling them the same thing every time I say it. I laugh, and I tell them, well, listen, I'm as good or better than any guy you can hire.
In 1961, the man in the White House knew that American women were at a crossroads.
I see thousands of women getting out of colleges every year, and I wonder what happens to all these skills. What chance do they have to make full use of their powers?
President Kennedy appointed a commission on the status of women. It was the first time in American history that the role women should play became part of our national agenda.
In my day, I can best describe the way things were as the closed door era. Women couldn't do this and women couldn't do that. In so many fields, the door was just shut tight.
I, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, do solemnly swear.
I got out of law school in 1959. Employers were, to put it euphemistically, cool toward the idea of employing women. And I had 3 strikes against me. I was Jewish, and the firms were just opening up to Jewish students. I was a woman, and I was a mother, and that finished it. I had a 4-year-old daughter, and legal employers feared that I would be constantly running home to take care of my child and not be able to do the job. I didn't say anything. I accepted that that's the way it was, and I had to try harder and keep on until someone would employ me.
Justice Ginsburg's experience was not unique. Help wanted was always a matter of gender.
I had to do that whole secretary thing for years, and like I'm pretty much still there, only now I reached a point where they call me an editorial assistant, but I'm still a secretary.
You've got to remember that this is a nation of law. And if something is not in the law, if it's not protected by the law, if it's not recognized by the law, then you don't have anything.
The first battlefield was Congress, where something called the Civil Rights Act was being debated, particularly Title VII of that act, which would ban discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, or national origin.
I've certainly tried to do everything that I could to hinder, delay, and dilapidate this bill.
An 81-year-old congressman from Virginia, Howard W. Smith, suggested that the word sex be added. He was certain that if he added sex to race, color, and religion, he would stop the Civil Rights Act cold.
When I got up to speak, the room was rocking with laughter. And the first thing I said was, if there were any need to prove your disrespect, you've already proved it by your laughter. We have sat here for 4 days discussing the rights of blacks and other minorities, and there has been no laughter, not even a smile. But when you suggest that you shouldn't discriminate against your own wives, your own mothers, your own daughters, your own granddaughters, or your own sisters, then you laugh. There was silence. Complete and absolute silence.
Congresswoman Griffiths had, throughout her career, championed racial equality, but she was willing to play into the prejudices of the all-white House of Representatives so that women would have an equal chance as well.
And then I said to them, you have succeeded in dividing American labor into 3 parts. First are American white men, who stand at the top and will get what they've always gotten. Then you are going to put in black men and women. And the 3rd class will be your mothers, your wives, your widows, your daughters, and your sisters. They will be the last hired and the first fired. Why are you doing this? Add sex. Why discriminate against white women? Well, that did it.
My fellow citizens, we have come now to a time of testing. We must not fail.
In 1964, Congress passed and President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. Title VII included the word sex. For the first time in American history, job discrimination against women was illegal.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 is one of the most effective legal weapons that women have had during this century. What that act gave us was the right to work and to be hired and to be promoted without regard to our gender. Women now had a tool, but a tool, it's very important to have the tool with which to work, but then you need lawyers and you need people who are willing to complain. You need women who are willing to stand up and to say, I've been wronged and I'm going to court to vindicate my rights.
The first woman to say that was a single mother with 7 children looking for a way to change her life. Ida Mae Phillips was a waitress in Florida, barely getting by when she saw an ad for trainees at the Martin Marietta Company.
They would not accept her application. And the reason is she had preschool-aged children, and it was the corporation's view that she should be in home rather than in the workplace. Yet, men with preschool-aged children, their applications were accepted, and they were hired.
Ida Mae was outraged. She knew what many American women knew, that working was a necessity, not a choice. She sued, citing Title VII of the Civil Rights Act.
If I win my case, it will mean that I would have a job, that I would have regular hours in order to plan things with my family. It would mean more money to educate my children, to see that they had the better things in life.
Phillips lost her case in the lower courts, but never lost her determination.
She came to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and we took her case to the Supreme Court of the United States. And there the court got it right.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 requires that persons of like qualifications be given employment opportunities irrespective of their sex.
And that's what Ida Mae Phillips represented for us. A woman who stood up, who applied for that assembly trainee job, and said, I should be treated no different from a man. I am qualified, I can do the job, and this society should stop discriminating against me because I have born children.
As gender barriers came down, little by little, women went to work in record numbers, and what changed was more than the workplace.
The Equal Rights Amendment would strike down all state laws that discriminate against women in the home, at school, and on the job. In short, the amendment would win the battle that many women until now have been fighting singly.
If you took America at the time we started with the ERA, and it's been very slow and evolving since, there were all sorts of jobs where you didn't let women participate.
Pat Schroeder, Congresswoman from Colorado, arrived on Capitol Hill with 2 small children, just in time to lead the fight for passage of the ERA.
I think an awful lot has been said legally, so I think one of the things I might like to direct is I'd like to talk as a working mother, because that's what I am too. You really had kind of a ghettoization of women in the workplace. That's why nursing jobs and teaching jobs have always been the lowest paid, because those were really the only 2 professions that women could break into. So it really, hardcore, was about economic rights. It should have been called the Economic Rights Amendment for women, because that's really all it was.